Shabbat Shalom.
I was counting down.
What?
Go ahead.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We invite everyone to come again to the Ark of Israel. Today's lesson will be on the book of Ruth.
By show of hands, who has read the book of Ruth? All right. What we're going to try to do today is give an understanding of the book of Ruth, rooted in an understanding of Torah.
Okay.
Which may bring a different perspective than you've already had. Ruth is the great-grandmother of King David and the ancestor of the seed of David, Yeshua HaMashiach. But who was she? Brother Yehuda. We'll be reading Matthew verse 1. Chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1. Start at verse 5. Matthew 1, verse 5. And it reads, and Solomon begat Boaz of Rachbah, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah. All right, so it tells you that Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. Let's go to Ruth 1 through 4. Ruth 1 through 4.
Ruth 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife, Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites, of Bethlehem, Judah, and they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years.
Okay, so it tells you that there were Ephratites from Bethlehem, Judah. The Easton's Bible Dictionary tells me an Ephratite is a citizen of Ephrata, the old name of Bethlehem. So Bethlehem, Judah tells you that they were people of the tribe of Judah. Ephratite is just an old name of Bethlehem. Ruth 1 and 4 introduces us to Ruth of the land of Moab. But was Ruth a descendant of Moab, the father of the Moabites? Let's examine the text closer. Let's go to Ruth 2, 1 through 6.
Ruth chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field, and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went, and came, and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, The Elohim be with you. And they answered him, The Elohim bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servants that was set over the reapers, Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab.
All right, let's note. Ruth was described as Moabitish to Boaz by his servant. The suffix ish is a descriptor added to the end of the word. The Cambridge Advanced Learner's Dictionary and Thesaurus says ish, a suffix, like, used to form adjectives that say what a person, thing, or action is like. Foolish, childish. The Cambridge Advanced Learner's Dictionary and Thesaurus also says ish is a suffix, quite, used to form adjectives to give the meaning to some degree. Fairly. He had a sort of reddish beard. She was oldish, about 60, I'd say. We'll start at 7-ish, about 7 o'clock. So Moabitish, meaning to some degree or like a Moabite. But let's go further. Let's go to Ruth 3, 1 and 2.
Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of your kindred with whose maidens thou waitest? Behold, he wenteth with barely tonight in the threshing floor.
Okay, so in this passage, Naomi describes Boaz as their kindred. But let's keep reading. Let's go to verse 7 through 13.
Verse 7. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of the corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself. And behold, the woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Most High, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the later end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Most High liveth. Lie down until the morning.
Okay, Boaz described Ruth as a virtuous woman. The Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language of 1828 says virtuous means morally good, acting in conformity to the moral law, practicing the moral duties, and abstaining from vice. As a virtuous man, being in conformity to the moral and divine law, as a virtuous action, a virtuous life. So Ruth was described as a virtuous woman. Well, to be described as virtuous, you have to be under some covenant of law.
Right.
So, virtuous is defined as being a conformity to moral and divine law, which would suggest one had a familiarity with the law. The kinsman part that Boaz is speaking of is called the kinsman redeemer. Let's visit Torah, Deuteronomy 25. We're going to look at verses 5 and 6.
Deuteronomy 25, verse 5.
Okay.
25, verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel.
All right. Of course, Ruth's husband, Mahlon, and his brother had both died. So, she is seeking the nearest relative to perform the role of a kinsman redeemer. Now, let's look at the word kinsman in both the Hebrew and the Greek language. If you will write down H4130, you can look at it in your concordance later, H4130. This is the Hebrew, and the word is modah. Modah. M-O-D-A-A-T-H. And it says, kindred, kinship, a kinsman. In the Greek, we have G5443. G5443. And the word is phule. P-H-U-L-E. Phule. And for kinsmen, it tells you that this word is a clan or tribe, a race of people, a tribe, a lineage, the descendants of a common ancestor. So, Brother Yehuda, we can go to Ruth 3 and 9.
All right, Ruth, chapter 3, verse 9. Ruth 3 and 9. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. Let me keep going.
All right. The KJV footnotes this text with, or one that hath right to redeem. Okay? So Boaz replied, it is true that I am your near kinsman. We just read kinsman meant tribe or lineage, right? And he says, but there is a kinsman nearer than I. He continued, if he will perform unto you the part of the kinsman, we'll let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not perform the part of the kinsman, then will I do the part of the kinsman to you. So, the kinsman is defined as a kindred, kinship, tribe, race, lineage. That would give us insight that Ruth was a bloodline Israelite.
Hallelujah.
A clause in the law of the kinsman redeemer stipulates in Deuteronomy 25 that she may not marry outside of the nation. Coupled with the fact that Ruth even had the land to be redeemed, also points to a genealogical lineage in Israel, since she was seeking a redeemer. Now, let's look at Boaz's conversation with Ruth's closest kinsman. Brother Darren, if we can go to Ruth 4, 1 through 6.
Ruth 4, verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants, and behold, and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it.
All right, so Ruth's closest male relative declined to be her redeemer. But why? Although her closest blood relative, he must have been of another tribe, which would put his inheritance in jeopardy. If we could go to Numbers 36 and 7.
Numbers 36, verse 7. Numbers 36, verse 7. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe to tribe? For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers.
So, her closest relative said that if he married her, he would put his inheritance in jeopardy. We see the same thing, a similar situation where you have relatives of different tribes when you look at Mary and when you look at Elizabeth. Elizabeth was of the tribe of Levi. Mary was of the tribe of Judah. Just as Joseph. Had Mary been of the tribe of Levi, she would have put Joseph's inheritance in jeopardy. So inheritance cannot move from tribe to tribe. And this is why the Redeemer turned her down, which cleared the way for Moab to marry her. Because Moab was also of the tribe of Judah. We can go to Deuteronomy 25 and 7.
Deuteronomy
Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 7. If the man like not to his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, My husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother.
So, the closest relative did not perform the duty. So Boaz, being the next closest relative, performed the duty of the Redeemer. At this point, I should specify that I do not merely contend that Ruth is an Israelite, but that I do contend she's of the tribe of Judah, a specific lineage. How can I be so sure? If we go to Tobit 4 and 12.
Tobit is in your Apocrypha, chapter 4. You there? Tobit chapter 4, verse 12. Beware of all whoredoms, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy father, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of the father's tribe. For we are the children of prophets. No, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they are married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land.
All right. So with the extent that Boaz went in, consulting with Ruth's closest relative to remain in subjection of the law, it is doubtful if he would have married a daughter of another tribe. Because he wanted to make sure he was in accordance to the law. Because he himself told her, you have a relative closer than I. So he's following the law, so he would not then go outside the tribe and marry someone of another tribe. We can go back to Ruth 4, 9 through 13.
Ruth chapter 4, verse 9. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's, and Mahlon's, of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, had I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Most High make the woman that is come into thy house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Most High shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Most High gave her conception, and she bare a son.
Okay, so she bare a son. You read verse 17, please.
And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
All right. So knowing the intertribal marriage law and its stipulation against marrying outside of your tribe or nation, The elders and all the people endorsed the marriage of Boaz and Ruth. Now, you don't have to look any further than the Pharisees and how they dealt with matters of the law to know that the elders would not have endorsed Boaz marrying a Moabite woman, a woman outside of not only the tribe, but outside of the nation. But what did they do? Not only did they endorse it, they even took it a step further in comparing her to other esteemed women of the nation. So the Most High blessed them with the child, Obed, the grandfather of David. So you say, well, why is this a big deal? God gave them a baby. We can go to Deuteronomy 23, 3 and 4.
Deuteronomy 23.
You got a question on here, bro?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a lot of these camps during the day, right? A lot of camps what they tell the people that come into their camp that you can just walk over to a woman and you can write down with a crayon on a piece of paper and say, you're my wife.
Right.
And then they biblically is married.
Right.
You know, so as Israel today, there's a lot of practices going on like that today that's not sanctioned based on what we just read.
Exactly.
It's not sanctioned in Israel.
Exactly.
So that kills the crayon marriage syndrome right there.
That's right.
You know, just based on the information you just brought forward. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of brothers out there, Israel, that's teaching in these camps that these brothers can go out here and get a crayon and then they see a woman inside the class and say, look, I want to marry you.
Right.
And they write on there, okay, we'll marry you this day, yada, 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 yada. And she say, okay. But if something happened to their brother, she get no heritage.
No. And then when they get tired of it, they just take a piece of paper and
write out divorce.
Here's your divorce.
Right. You see?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right.
Because and this is why it's important to use this book
Yes.
to show the foundation of Torah. Because the God of Israel is the God of decency and order.
Yes.
Everything has an order to it. And we're showing the order of things. Because the way we're taught the book of Ruth is that Ruth was a Moabite convert. But a Moabite convert to what? You know, at this time, Judaism didn't even exist. So what did she convert to? So we have to understand that we're talking about people under covenants.
So she was under the covenant of the land of the Moabites.
We're going to get to that.
Okay. All right, my brother.
Deuteronomy,
Yeah, yours.
Deuteronomy 23, verse 3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter to the congregation of the Most High. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever. Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor, or Pethor, or Mesopotamia, to curse thee.
All right, so a Moabite cannot enter into the congregation, even to the 10th generation. Right? Let's go to Zephaniah 2 and 9.
Read from the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2. Zephaniah. Zephaniah 2 and 9. Therefore, as I live, says the Lord of hosts, the Elohim of Israel. Surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon shall be as Gomorrah. Even the breeding of nettles and salt pits, and the perpetual desolation, the residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them.
All right, so now the Most High is saying the Moabites and Ammonites are like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes, it is.
You see? So this is what we're saying, that is the descendant of the most of Christ, of the Messiah, Shia. Let's go to Nehemiah 13. We'll read verses 1 and 2.
Nehemiah 13, verse 1. On that day, they read in the book of Moses.
Stop right there. Where did they read it at?
The book of
In the Torah, right?
Right.
So on that day, they read in the Torah. Okay?
On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. And therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of the Most High forever. Because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit our Elohim turned the curse into a blessing.
All right? So, this is in Torah. Nehemiah is telling you that this was written in Torah, that the Moabites couldn't enter into the congregation. Now, I'm going to get straight this word congregation. When we talk about the congregation, we're talking about the assembly. When we talk about the assembly, we're talking about the word we know today as church. So Moabites couldn't even enter God's church. But we're saying this is Christ's great-grandmother? Brother Yehuda, can you give me Matthew 1 again, 5 and 6?
Matthew 1, verse 5. And Solomon begat Boaz, Rahab, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth.
So Boaz had Obed by Ruth, right?
That's booze.
Yeah, Boaz.
Okay,
Yeah.
Boaz.
Begat Obed of Ruth. All right.
And Obed begat Jesse.
Okay.
And Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah.
Okay. Now, if Ruth was a biological Moabite, then her and her descendants would not have been permitted to enter into the congregation of the Lord. But yet, David entered into the house of the Lord. We go to 2 Samuel 7 and 18.
Second Samuel chapter 7, verse 18.
Second Samuel what?
7 and 18.
Then, verse 18, then went King David in and sat before the Most High, and he said, who am I, O Yahweh Elohim? And what is my house, that thou hast brought me hitherto?
So David goes, before the Most High to the congregation. Let's go to Psalms 122. Psalms 122, we're going to start from the top.
Psalms 122, verse 1.
I'm good.
It's just me. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Psalms 122. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Elohim.
Wait a minute. David said he was glad that they said, let us go into the house of the Elohim. But we just saw that Moabites were not permitted. So this would be breaking Torah, that David would be going. But the Most High said, David's a man after my own heart. Is God a man that he should lie? Okay. There you go, brother.
Our feet shall stand within thy gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together. Whether the tribes go up, the tribes of the Most High, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the name of the Elohim.
So David is going up to the congregation to give thanks to the Most High. And David's son, Solomon, was chosen by the Most High to do what? Brother Yehuda, 1 Chronicles 28 and 6.
First Chronicles chapter 28, verse 6. First Chronicles chapter 28, verse 6. And he said unto me, Solomon thy son, he shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father.
Wait a minute. Solomon is not 10 generations away from Ruth. But the text says, even to the 10th generation, they cannot enter into the congregation. But he's not even 10 generations if 10 generations was the standard. So if Solomon is less than 10 generations, but the Most High handpicked him to say, you will build my house. This is who he said will build his house. Solomon. Brother Darren, give me 1 Kings 8:22 and 23. 1 Kings 8:22 and 23.
1 Kings chapter 8, verse 22. And Solomon stood before the altar of the Most High in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands towards heaven. And he said, the Most High Elohim of Israel, there is no Elohim like thee, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart.
Verses 26 and 27.
And now, O Yahweh of Israel, Elohim of Israel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant David, my father. But will Elohim indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have builded?
So Solomon is saying, I built you this house. This house is not majestic enough for you. This house cannot contain your glory. But I'm to believe Solomon is a descendant of a Moabite who wasn't allowed in the house. Many will try to explain away Solomon being allowed to build the temple because of the seed of the father clause, who also would have been a Moabite lineage. But this is exactly what Ezra and Nehemiah had to deal with in their day. Now, I will let you know a little something about the background of these books. In the English translations, we find that the books of Ezra and Nehemiah are broken down into two separate books. But the Hebraic tradition, they are actually one book. And with Nehemiah being the latter portion of the text, the children of Israel were strictly prohibited from marrying, fornicating, or bringing forth children with Moabites. We can go to Nehemiah 13, 23 to 25.
Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashad and of Ammon and of Moab, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashad and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. Did you want me to keep going?
Yeah, up to 25.
Okay. And I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked off their hair and made them swear by Elohim, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons for yourselves.
So Nehemiah was fighting these people for marrying Moabites. Let's go to Ezra 9. We're going to read verses 1 and 2. Ezra 9.
Ezra 9, verse 1. Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled them.
Oh, what just mingled?
The holy seed.
The holy seed. Who is more holier than Christ? And we're contending that he came from a mingled seed of a bloodline that was supposed to be pure.
Right.
So that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yeah, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass.
All right, so this is a trespass. So this is a sin. Right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to 10, 9, and 12. Chapter. Ezra 10, 9 through 12.
In the process, while they're looking at that, man,
Yes, sir.
you know, a lot of people don't realize, especially young women that's growing up today, a lot of them really don't understand exactly what a virtuous woman is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of them think that it's hanging out on the street. they think it's running down, hanging out with little boys all around the corner in the alleys and all that crazy mess. That's not virtuous.
No.
That's nasty.
No, right.
There's scripture in this book. Can I give you a couple real quick? Just
sir.
tie it in. Let's see, a virtuous woman. That's just. We talking about a holy, virtuous woman here. See, Ruth wasn't just anything.
No.
We talking about something that they're way above rubies.
That's right.
We talking about
That's
something
right.
with some strength and some oomph in it, right? And this is what the Most High want all of his girls to be. He want all of his daughters to be this way. He don't want them jumping out their window at night, going hanging out with boys, smoking dope, and all this other crazy stuff. He don't want them doing that stuff.
Right. Amen.
Check this out. Let's go with Proverbs 30. You mind?
No,
I just
sir.
want to talk about this virtuous woman just for a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Bring
It's
it
a
out.
Proverbs 31, verse 10. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. You see that? Far above rubies. Right? But they don't realize that every time they with a guy, their price come down. Every time some boy mingled and ran their hand all through their clothes, their price or their worth come down. Before you know it, you mark down.
That's right. You discount.
Anybody can have you. The nicest thing on the street can have you now. No man of worth. No man of dignity. You don't need a man of dignity because you don't have any dignity. Every time you write, I'm sorry.
No.
But every time a woman go out there, a child, kids, and the parents are trying to bring them up right, they jumping out of windows and then parents got to walk that route themselves right too. So, I mean, I'm not trying to get excited, though. He look at me like I'm about to get excited, but I'm not. He trying to like, well,
I'm trying to be discreet about
right. He's telling me to calm down, right? He's telling me to calm down. And I understand, right?
Yes.
But we know the purpose of my brother being here. But let's just be real about it, right? This virtuous woman is it's just something that's way out of the ordinary. It's way out of the ordinary. It's something that you don't really see nowadays too much, but they exist. Why? Because they say children are going to be the oppressor. But do they have to be the oppressor? No, they don't have to be the oppressor. They don't have to. Just because it's been spoken to make some kids are going to be the children of what? What you call it? A perdition. But all of them are not. It's your choice whether you want to be a female that's not virtuous.
Right.
It's your choice if you're going to carry yourself and run around with these little rotten boys and then you labeled as Jeannie Rotten seed. You know what I mean? You don't want that. You want to be above. You want to be above. You want to be the apple of his eye. You can't be. It said, check this out. It said 10. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is above rubies. Now, most of these people that go out here running around, these women that run out running around and doing all different things, they play that role like they all of this. They play that role like they all of that. But they say you can even see you can see the virtue of a woman in the way she dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean it's just right there. It's right in scripture right here.
The backing of her eyes.
You can see the virtue of a woman that way. You don't just carry yourself any kind because some boys say, "Oh, you look good." Now you can't obey your parents. The boy said you cute. Now you can cuss mama out. The boy said you cute. You can sniff your nose up at daddy. No, but daddy and mama done fed you till you was 20. I fed you till you 18. There's no reason for you to do that because somebody said you cute. And then you hit in another direction. They trying to keep you virtuous so when that man come through, see, check this out. This part, I'm sorry, brother. I ain't trying to hold you up. But it's important I do this. And this here is Proverbs 31 and 11. It says, the heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her. If you marry a man and he know you already came from the street and you've been with every Joe and Terry around the corner, you think he gonna trust you? Do you think this man gonna look at you as being this man is gonna trust you in anything? He's not, because it's something that you grow into nowadays. But back then it was something you earned right away because these women was kept.
It was taught.
Yes.
It was taught.
But it was obeyed because you can teach it nowadays and they still don't obey.
Because it's not being followed up. So
even when you follow up
I'm not
sometimes.
that old.
Well, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
But
I'm not that old, right? But it was like, even to this day, it's still things that my parents say that I be like, I ain't live with.
But your mom and your dad know something you don't know.
Right, that's right.
They know if you go out there and get stuck with a baby, this nasty boy that you hanging out with ain't gonna be around.
You don't like what they say, but I guarantee you appreciate what they say.
And then if he locked up, if
right.
you're locked up, then now you just gave. Now not only did they raise you, now they gotta raise you and that kid I'm sorry, that bastard kid, the one that you weren't supposed to have outside of wedlock. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's this thing right here is more serious than what we.
And
this virtuous woman this brother is talking about is a powerful woman.
what I want the young ladies to understand. Everything that the Most High made precious, He buried it and made it hard to get to.
That's right. Exactly.
Hallelujah.
When they want to dig for silver,
Go ahead, brother.
they want to dig for gold, they got to go to Africa. They got to go way down in the ground to find it.
Yes.
When they want pearls,
They
they got to go way to the bottom of the ocean.
Man.
Open up the clam
Yeah.
to find the pearl.
Then they got once they find, they got to open it up.
They got to open it up.
It ain't just
See,
sitting there.
everything
No, it's not,
He
it's
made,
not there like, hey,
everything
no
He
pearl.
made precious, He covered up and made it hard to get to. Don't discount yourself, because you got to check your price tag when you walk out the house. And when you check your price tag, look at your clothes. Don't be of the world. If you're not dressed, if you're dressed like them, maybe you marked yourself down.
You mark down.
Get back behind the glass case where you belong.
I know brother, have you ever heard about this one thing they call them a peach out of reach? You ever heard of peach out of reach? Anybody ever heard of a peach? Anybody heard? Oh, y'all ain't going to
We all in our 30s, man.
we got to bring y'all up to speed to what we're talking about, right? Because a peach out of reach, it's just like an apple in the top of the tree. You know how we used to be walking around, little boys, you see the best, reddest apple up in the top of the tree?
Yeah.
You get you a stick, you throw that apple, you throw rocks all day long trying to hit that apple. Just keep throwing it and you keep missing this apple, right? That apple is out of reach. So when you see this peach, you want to, and they say the young women should be like a peach out of reach. This is what she should carry herself so high up in the tree that no matter how long they sit down and throw them sticks and throw them rocks, they're going to throw something big, because they think they throw something big, they got a better chance of hitting it.
Right.
So they're going to tell you about all the big money they got. They're going to tell you about all the nice cars and clothes they can give you. Just let them keep throwing. Because when the Most High get ready to give you that man that He wants you to have, He going to put him before you. You ain't got to go look for him. He going to be right there. The Most High going to make it happen. The Most High going to put him in your life. And it won't be a crayon marriage. It won't be. But you got to be a peach out of reach. And you're not easy accessible. You see what I mean? Because if anybody can throw a stick up and knock the peach down, once that peach hit the tree, and once that peach hit the ground and begin to decay, everybody kicking around, rolling around the ground, that peach is out. That peach is marked down.
And undesirable.
And very undesirable. See it with all whelps and notches all in it.
Might even be discarded.
It's not even firm no more. It's not even firm no more.
Right.
I was thinking about just like Ruth. I believe that she was a virtuous woman that made her different. And then also I was thinking about Rahab the harlot, on how she turned away from what she used to do, and then she, hid the spies, by her actions, and she believed in the Most High.
Yes, definitely. I'm sorry.
Ruth, and this is the importance of bringing it out, because Ruth has a very specific role. Ruth is even mentioned in the genealogy. But look, young ladies, young men, look at the work Boaz is going through to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
You got a question in the back. Sister, go ahead in the back.
Oh, I didn't see
I just want the young women to know what their worth is. I just looked up what a 5-carat flawless ruby is worth.
All right.
Okay, for homework, find out how much you weigh and see how much that would be in carats, and then you'll know your worth. This 5-carat diamond, ruby, is worth $274,500.
Now, who would play with that?
This is a 5-carat flawless ruby. It's very deep, dark red in color. But they say this one is flawless. I just looked it up. So it's worth $274,500 for 5 carats. So if you look up what your weight is in carats and times that by this number right here, that's what your worth is. So in other words, this is a little bit over $250,000. So when you do your weight, that's how much you're going to be worth. That's your worth.
So the question is, even at $5, even at five pounds or 5 carats of this thing, just think about some of the people you come in contact with as a young lady. Would you trust them with $274,000? Will you trust them with $274,000? Can you believe? I mean, it's just unbelievable for me. Right, because that's your work. That's just, and as she's saying, that's just an inkling of your work. Right. You see what I mean? Because guess what? Being a part of Israel, and especially being a woman in Israel, is one of the highest level of a female that you could possibly be in this world. If you play your cards right. But if you play them wrong, you're going to be the worst thing on this earth. Why? Because number one, you got that skin defect already. They all, just by your color, they're going to look at you wrong. Just by your color. But when you carry yourself for the genuine woman that you actually is, and you carry yourself as a jewel and a ruby that you actually are, not trusting any man with any of your, just any portions of you, unless it has been deemed by the Most High. That's why back in the day, Israel used to choose husbands and wives. But now they don't do that. They just go see, they see Terry turning the corner going down the alley. That's the one. And they hid behind him because his pants ain't up on his butt back. I want the one without with his drawers showing. That's the one I want. I want the one that smoked the most dope. That's the one I want. But that's not what you want. And you got people telling you this because everybody's not going to tell you. Everybody's not going to tell you this. You got to be a peach out of reach.
Hallelujah. And one of the things that I liked about, another thing about the character of Ruth was that she listened to her mother-in-law's advice. Because, naturally, most men are hunters naturally. So I like how she listened to the advice of her mother-in-law on how to carry herself.
Great, yes. Yes, that's it. Okay, brother.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Let's go to Ezra 10, 9 through 12.
Ezra chapter 10, verse 9. Then all the men of Judah and Benjamin gathered themselves together unto Jerusalem within 3 days. It was the 9th month, on the 20th day of the month. And all the people sat in the street of the house of the Most High, trembling because of this matter, and for the great rain. And Ezra the priest stood up and said unto them, Ye have transgressed, and have taken strange wives, to increase the trespass of Israel. Now therefore make confession unto the Most High Elohim of your fathers, and do his pleasure, and separate yourselves from the people of the land, and from the strange wives. Then all the congregation answered and said with a loud voice, As thou hast said, so must we do.
All right, so Ezra told them, you must separate yourself from these women. Right? Let's go to verse 3, see what else it said.
Verse 3. Now therefore, let us make a covenant with our Elohim, to put away all the wives, and such as are born of them,
Ruth had Obed by Boaz, right? Ezra just said not only put away the wives, put away the children born of them. So that would mean Obed would have been put away. Obed is the grandfather of David. How would David have ever been king? Carry on, brother.
Now therefore let us make a covenant with our Elohim to put away all the wives, such as are born of them, according to the counsel of my Elohim, and of those that tremble at the commandment of our Elohim. And let it be done according to the law.
According to law. So this is done according to law. So Obed, the father of Jesse, the father of David, the father of Solomon, would have been put away with Ruth. Therefore, neither David or Solomon would have ever reached the throne of Judah, making the seed of the father a mute point. Because Torah explains in Deuteronomy 17 and 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy Elohim has shall choose, pardon me. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Well, what did Nehemiah say? What did Ezra say? Y'all have taken strange wives and had children with them. Well, it just said you can't set a stranger over you as a king. That's a law. So as the great-grandson of Ruth, King David would have been her direct descendant, excluding him from ruling as king over Israel. The elders in Israel would have never endorsed this marriage between Boaz and a biological Moabite, knowing these prohibitions. So why would I say that? Deuteronomy 27 and 1. We're going back to Torah.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it should be on the day when you shall pass over Jordan unto the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee, that thou shalt set thee up great stones and plaster them with plaster. Want me to keep going?
No, that's good. So Moses with the elders, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you. So if Moses, along with the elders, is telling the people to keep all of the commandments, why would they allow Boaz to break the commandment? Now, let's get an understanding of what a historical background of what we're talking about. Let's go to Ruth 1 and 1.
Ruth chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land.
All right, so when the judges ruled, this is telling you the period that we're looking at. Let's ascertain what occurred after the Israelites left Egypt in the period of Judges. Let's go to Numbers 21. We're going to start at verse 21. Numbers 21, starting at verse 21.
And Israel sent messengers unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through thy land. We will not turn into the fields or into the vineyards. We will not drink of the waters of the well, but we will go along by the king's highway until we be past thy borders. And Sihon would not suffer Israel to pass through his border. But Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness. And he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel smote him with the edge of the sword and possessed his land from Arnon until Jabbok, even unto his children of Ammon, for the borders of the children of Ammon were strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and in all the villages thereof. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of Amorites, who had fought against the former kings of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, even until Arnon. Wherefore, they that speak in Proverbs say, Come into Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and prepared. For this is a fire gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It hath consumed all of Moab, and the lords of the high places of Arnon. Woe to thee, Moab! Thou art undone, O people of Chemosh. He hath given his sons that escaped and his daughters into captivity until Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have shot at them. Heshbon is purged even unto Dibon, and we have laid them waste until Nophah, which reacheth unto Medeba. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites.
All right, explain that and break that down. The Amorites conquered the territory of the Moabites, all the way to Heshbon. The Israelites came and conquered the Amorites and took their territory. Now, when the Amorites had the territory, it was still called Moab. The name didn't change. The ownership just changed. Israel came and took the territory from them. It was still called Moab. So it tells you right in the text that the Israelites moved into all of those places in the land. Let's go to Deuteronomy 29, verses 7 and 8.
Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 7. And when he came unto this place, Sihon, the king of Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us unto battle, and we smote them, and we took their land, and gave it for an inheritance, unto the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh.
So they took their land and gave their land for inheritance to Israelites. This happened around 1450 BC. Now let's look at the book of Judges for a historical perspective of this period, because it says that Ruth was born during the period of Judges. We're going to go to Judges 3. Starting at verse 12, Judges 3. Now, when they came and conquered this land, this was at the period that they had just left Egypt. So they were trying to come in and find places to live themselves.
Judges 3, verse 12. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Most High. And the Most High strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Most High. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Most High raised them up a deliverer.
Oh, does this sound familiar? The children of Israel cried out to the Most High, and he raised them up a deliverer. Mm-hmm. Carry on.
Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger, which had 2 edges, of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king, who said, keep silence. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from the Most High unto thee. And he arose out of his seat, and Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the left hand, and the haft also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Then Ehud went forth through the porch, and shut the doors of the parlor upon him, and locked them. When he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked. They said, surely he covereth his feet in his summer chamber. And they tarried till they were ashamed. And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them. And behold, their Lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Serath. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. And the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them, and he said unto them, follow after me, for the Most High has delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan towards Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over it. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty, and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years.
All right, so Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. So it's showing you that Israel was conquered over Moab, all but 18 years, because you know what Israel do to get wrong. But so now, this was during a period of judges. Israel was still in possession of Moab, going back to the time that they left out of Egypt. All of about 18 years. Now let's look at the duration of this time. 1 Kings 6:1.
1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 418th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Most High.
Okay, so now we're all the way up to Solomon. So this was during the period of Judges. The period of Judges extends from the death of Joshua into the establishment of the monarchy. Right? So this period lasted somewhere around 480 years. That's just the period of Judges. That's not even going all the way back until them coming out of Egypt. So you got a 480-year window that Ruth was born in this nation, right? Ruth 1 and 1.
Ruth 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons.
Okay, so this was during the period of Judges that Elimelech, Naomi, Malion, and Chilion went to the land of Moab. They tell you they were from Bethlehem, Judah. So the Judah part tells you what tribe they were from. That's right. So they're going where? To another Israelite ran territory. Why did they go? Because it was a famine. Whenever God wanted Israel to move, there was a famine. They always moved during the famine. Abraham moved during the famine. Isaac moved during the famine. Jacob moved during the famine. So there was a famine on the land. They moved. Why? Because you have to go get this virtuous woman that's going to be the ancestor of Christ. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7 and 3.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thou daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughters shall take unto thy son. You want to keep going?
No, that's good. Okay. So, you see that this is Deuteronomy. We keep going back to Deuteronomy. We keep going back to Numbers. Why? Because this is Torah. This is the law. This is the establishment of the rest of the book. And when you get to books like Ruth, just like the New Testament, and you're reading things, if you don't have a foundation in here, you're going to misinterpret what you're reading here. Now, because I have a foundation here, when I started reading the book of Ruth, I'm like, something's not right. This is off. Because you already have a foundation on what they can and cannot do. Let's go to Isaiah 55 and 11.
Isaiah 55, verse 11. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it.
So the Most High's words do not return to him void. When he speaks, when he says, first of all, let's understand what a commandment and a law is. Whenever he speaks, it's a commandment. It's a law.
Right.
So when he says it, it has to accomplish what he says. Right? So what did he say that has to be accomplished? If we go to Deuteronomy 23 and 2.
Deuteronomy 23, verse 2. A bastard shall not enter to the congregation of the Elohim. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High.
All right. So you say a bastard may not enter into the congregation. Well, what are we talking about? The Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary tells me that a bastard is specifically talking about a child of incest. So it says, means child of incest, not simply an illegitimate child. Such were excluded from the assembly of the Lord. The Smith's Bible Dictionary says a bastard among those who were excluded from entering the congregation, even to the 10th generation, was the bastard. The term is not, however, applied to any illegitimate offspring born out of wedlock, but is restricted by the rabbins to the issue of any connection with the degrees are prohibited by law. So, for clarity's sake, what was prohibited by law? Let's go to Leviticus 18 and 6.
Leviticus 18, verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Most High.
All right. So he said, none of you should approach anyone that's kin to him to uncover their nakedness. If I go to the Amplified Bible, it specifies what we're talking about. No one shall approach any blood relative of his to uncover nakedness, have intimate relations. I am the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. So, why would I say that? Lot is the father of Moab by his daughter, a child of incest. This is why they would be prohibited to enter the congregation. This is a matter of law. Lot had children by his two daughters, Moab and Ammon. If you notice, every time we get to reading the restrictions about them not dealing with them, it always mentions both of them. The Most High said that their descendants could not enter into the congregation forever. But we have accepted a fairy tale that Christ came from Moabites. Both of the genealogies from Matthew and Luke lead directly back to Jesse, the son of Obed, as the Ruth. Jesse was the grandson of Boaz and Ruth. Jesse was the father of King David. So Boaz and Ruth are direct ancestors of Yeshua HaMashiach in the flesh. Knowing how the Most High Yah felt about the Moabites and forbid the children of Israel from mingling with them, even in the best mannerisms of Ruth, it is inconceivable that he would have chosen a Moabite in which to bring forth his holy seed through, especially when they were excluded from his assembly, which also would have excluded Christ from entering the temple.
Exactly.
Luke chapter 4 and 16. Luke 4 and 16. All right.
Luke chapter 4, verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and he stood up for to read.
How? He's a Moabite. He was not allowed an assembly if this is the case. If what we're being taught is the case, he is not allowed into the assembly.
Right.
But he's entering the assembly to read. Let's look at Ruth 2 and 11.
Ruth chapter 2, verse 11. And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore.
Okay, so Boaz said to her that you left the land of your nativity. The Oxford Living Dictionary tells you that nativity means the occasion of a person's birth, which tells you she was born in Moab. She didn't migrate there. Her family didn't migrate there. She was born there. They migrated there sometime earlier.
Right.
But she was born in that territory. Why? Because it was Israelite territory. All right, so let's look at Ruth 4 and 12 again.
Ruth 4, verse 12. The Most High recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Most High Elohim of Israel, under whose 4 and 12. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Most High shall give thee of this young woman.
So again, it's looking at other esteemed women in the nation to compare her to. Now we're going to look at the verse, because it could be times I teach this that people will want to hang on this one verse to solidify the whole book. Let's go to Ruth 1 and 16.
Ruth 1, verse 16. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy Elohim my Elohim.
All right. So in verse 16 of the first chapter of Ruth, it tells you that Ruth is saying, your people will be my people, your God should be my God, right? But in most King James Bibles, especially in 1611, the italicized, the word or and the phrase shall be is italicized, which means slanted, right? Now, italic by the Merriam-Webster's dictionary tells us of or relating to a type style with characters that slant upwards to the right, right? You've seen italicized words. Now, I'm going to go to the King James Bible. The use of italics in the King James Bible. The word in italics in the King James Bible are words that were added by the translators to help the reader. This is usually necessary when translating from one language to another because the word in one language may not have the corollary word in English or idiomatic expression often do not easily move from one language to another. Hence, the word in the italics are words which do not have any equivalents in Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek texts. By adding these words, the translator's goal was to make the meaning of the sentence clearer and produce a more readable translation that read smoothly, yet was true to the original. However, to make sure that the reader understood that these words were not in the manuscript, they set them in italics. So in other words, it is not accurate that Ruth said, "Your people shall be my people," and "Your God, my God." It was closer to "Your people, my people."
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Keep going, brother.
All right? "Your God, my God."
There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm.
So, you would say, why doesn't it specify Ruth as an Israelite? Although I believe many honorably reconcile Ruth being a Moabite as a way of erasing the stigma of racism through Christ, which all of the dismantling of the foundation set by Torah it does, this isn't the appropriate book for a doctrine of no respecters of person. When reading the scriptures in its original language, we have to understand that the original target audience were aware of certain dynamics pertaining to the text that needed no explanation because they were familiar with the principles of Torah. Had the Israelites remained true to their covenant, they would have never been discontinued from their heritage, and this historical information would have been passed down orally. Now, here we are, disconnected from a significant cultural comprehension, journeying back over 3,000 years, attempting to bring a first-person narrative to a layman's perspective. Therefore, when we read Ruth the Moabitess, we take it at face value, without foreknowledge of all the particulars involved, such as conquest, ruling class, migration, or Hebraic cultural law, which all play a critical role in understanding the story of Ruth and Boaz. There are a few basic proofs of Ruth's nationality, the first being who inhabited the land of Moab during a period of her life, in which we prove the Israelites inhabited Moab for over 400 years, before and after Ruth. The second being who had the legal right under the intermarriage tribal laws pertaining to who had the right to inherit and redeem property. Third, the prohibition of Moabites to enter the assembly of God. And finally, the phrase "shall be" does not appear in the original manuscripts, potentially altering the interpretation of the text. Without this understanding, the book of Ruth is inharmonious with the volume of the book. So my personal belief is that the book of Ruth displays elegantly the importance of having a foundation in Torah, because not knowing the dynamic of the historical and cultural implications, you will be led to error in interpretation, as our beloved brother Peter said, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also in the other scriptures. The word unlearned in the Greek is G62 agrammatos, and it means unacquainted with rabbinic teaching. Rabbinic teaching is Torah, and Ruth was an Israelite.